Thomas Hartman and Rabbi Mark Gelman, and the image is a mountain, and everybody's goal is to get up to the top of the mountain. Our family, the Jewish family, has a tradition that we take this route that goes around the northeast side of the mountain and then skirts back over here and then comes up and ends up at the top. Other people have traditions that go different routes, and there's nothing to say that my route is better than your route. It's just my family has been using this route and I'm following in that tradition. But we ultimately are all trying to get to the same place, and there's no better or worse way to go. I like that image. I think again, these are teachings that it wouldn't hurt if everybody absorbed this, and maybe we'd be a less fractured, divisive society if that were the case.
Right. And I'd like to footnote from what you said there. I'm not an expert on Maimonides, but I really like the little bit that I've gotten my hands on. And he really, in the beginning, he really goes off on that idea of being made in the image of God. But he goes into that term image, which I think is Selem. And when he drills down on that, he says, we shouldn't be focused on the visual aspect of this, that what we're really talking about is a thing that is essential, the thing that makes it what it is. And that's what we have of God, which to me is much more powerful than to just say we're kind of a photocopy. It's actually this idea and this is a way backing into which I wanted to ask you about what is consciousness, and because it does sit in that place that causes the mind body problem. And as you know, as a scientist and as a rabbi, I feel like you probably have a foot on both of those icebergs. But and this is maybe connected with determinism. Do you think of what, I'm interested in what you think about that. But uh, now I'm hearing people saying that, well, quantum realities are entangled with what consciousness is, and this idea of free will, and that plasma fields are self-organizing, and that's showing us consciousness. And so anyway, all of that. What do you think?
Um, I think we are given a gift to have self-awareness and to have an awareness of the world around us. I'm certainly, I mean, I'll maybe put consciousness on my list of future topics that I want to explore, but I haven't really looked into that so much yet. What I can tell you is that I resonate with Maimonides as well. I sometimes joke that he lived in a society where it made sense from his rational approach to be a physician. But if he had lived in the 21st century, he would have been a physicist because that's what would have resonated with him. It's just joking, but I think I feel like I understand a little bit about where he's coming from because he seems to put great emphasis on a rational approach. He felt that thought, just human thought, is maybe what we mean by the divine image, and that what is it that we strive for? It's to connect with the ultimate thought, if you will, with a capital T, which is God. And for him, that was like pure thought was his image of what God is all about. And so when we are aware of our thinking and our thinking processes, that consciousness is what's bringing us closer to pure thought, which is his idea of God. I don't know if that at all dovetails with what you were trying to say, Brian, but that's certainly what I'm reminded of.
I I think it totally does, and it reminds me of the many faces of God and many names of God, because that sounds like, the facet that you're describing there, Jack, would, I think, meet that criteria, that by being self-aware, that implies a reflection of consciousness back on itself, and made in God's image, has a really similar sense to it. I'll be honest, that's always been a really mysterious line to me, because I don't, like you, I don't subscribe to the idea that God is, that looks like a human being and maybe has a beard and sits on the throne. And so I didn't understand what image, um, could mean in that context, and I knew it was more than that. And I like the idea of replacing the word image with essence, because that, means something completely different to me as well. That if we consider, God to be something like the creative force, then through capacities like self-awareness and will and things like that, we also have the potential to be a creative force, a gift, as you said. So I find that interesting. Maybe let me. I don't know if you relate to the idea of many faces of God, or many names of God, and what that means to you, and maybe how it connects to this question.
Yeah, I think that is a very powerful statement about the many faces of God, and um, that it gives individuality to this approach to the divine, right? That the way I might see God is going to be different than the way you might see God. It's as if, God is in the center and we're all looking from our own perspective. And so we see something slightly different. We see what is, from along the path that we've gone. It's not necessarily the same path that somebody else has gone, and it gives more flexibility. It gives more entry points, if you will, for people to access what Judaism has to offer. It's the reason why many people reject Judaism when they get older, because they were given only one view of what God is. I remember taking a class from a rabbi many years ago, 35 years ago, before I was ordained. And he said that most teachers in a religious school classroom, let's say a Jewish Sunday school, they're so uncomfortable themselves with talking about God that they just don't know what to do with a classroom full of kids. And so they transmit this, lack of clarity about God, and then you end up with a generation of people who are struggling. And I get it.